Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Author of Your Own Story show. I have Alex Armstrong here with us today, and I'm very excited. Alex is the owner of Gym Motion, and Alex and I have been talking for, several months now, back and forth. And Alex, tell everybody a little bit about your story and about what you're up to.
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Doug.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Southern California, and actually that's where you and I kind of have some similar roots. We've spent a lot of time in Santa Barbara, beautiful Santa Barbara. And then I came up to Northern California for college. I went to UC Davis and ended up here in San Francisco. And I've been living in San Francisco for 7 years and been in the fitness industry for about 7 of those 7 years. I was a personal trainer for a long time, six of those years. And in the last year, I started my company, Gym Motion. We're a retention consulting company for gyms. And then I also started a podcast around retention in the fitness business, and it focuses on how gyms keep members, how trainers keep clients, and how fitness companies kind of battle the high turnover rate that they see oftentimes within their business. So that's what I'm at. Oh, I'm also engaged, which is cool. I'm getting married next year. I'm a Capricorn, and I love the NBA. Those are a little fun facts about me.
Awesome, man. And we've been talking about retention, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is I think you have such a unique approach to retention. And it's something that a lot of people that are, going through this author of your own story journey, a lot of times, they're either building their business now or they've had a business for a long time and they get burnt out, right? It's a classic story of a business owner. It's like, I need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads, or lead gen, or whatever it's called. But you're taking a different approach at looking at that situation or that problem of not having enough. Maybe it's not enough revenue, but enough members in the gym. But this could be taken to any business. Tell me a little bit about how that got started for you.
Well, so as a trainer, you rely heavily on retention. If you're more interested in training than you are sales, you're going to become dependent on retention. And I happen to be interested in both. So I kind of feel like I was in a sweet spot to do really well in training. I loved selling. I loved getting to the bottom of people's needs. But then I also liked actually delivering the product, which is a great training session, helping people improve their lives, feel better about themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But the way that I actually got into retention was I was training too much. I was training 9-10 hours a day and, making a good income, but I would come home and my now fiance would be like, God, you know what? You don't have anything left in the tank. And so I scaled my hours back. I went to about 3-4 clients a day rather than 8 or 9. And I just set out to figure out what I thought would be the best kind of way for me to develop or use my skill set in a need for the fitness market. I took 50 gym tours to look at their sales process because that's what I was really interested in. And I noticed that a lot of people's training led them to sell transactionally and not develop and deliver value. And what I was seeing was there were these membership cliffs that were happening in gyms where someone might sign up, but they might stay for 2 months or 3 months or, a very short period of time. And that the cost of acquisition doesn't justify a membership length that long. So I started to think, how do you get around that? And rather than just looking at someone as a transaction or as a potential sale, looking at them like as someone who's going to be in your business for 4 or 5 years and selling them that way, developing the value of your business that way, rather than just saying like, hey, how can I get Jane signed up today? Or how can I get Mo signed up today? It's about what can I do today that's going to make Mo still come through the door in 4 years? And so that's where the mindset for me shifted. I looked at the technology side of what's happening on retention, and I think that there are some companies doing a great job, but I think that there needs to be a personal touch to everything that technology enables you to do. And to make that personal touch really meaningful, people need to be trained. And that's what I do now is I look at the personal side of how fitness companies approach sales and retention.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And
It's a
what's interesting,
long-winded answer.
no, not at all, man. I mean, I have tons of questions now, which is perfect. And
Let's
I
hear
think
'em.
something that's interesting is you effectively reduced your billing hours by more than 50%, close to 60%, by reducing, 8 to 10 sessions down to 3 to 4, 3 to 4, depending on what you look at.
Mhm.
And that's a lifestyle choice because so often as somebody that speaks, I mean, I speak at least 10 times a year to business owners, and burnout is the number one thing you hear people talk about. I'm
Yeah.
stuck, I'm spinning my wheels, I'm burnt out. But oftentimes they don't make that pivot until it's too late. And you did. So kudos to you that you came up and you said, hey, look, how can I leverage this for myself? And to me, you're forging almost new territory. And it's not new in the sense that no one's doing it, but you're doing it in a unique way and having conversations with people that that really haven't heard it before. So when you were going through that, Alex, and was there a process that you went through of like, hey, I really want to do something new, or was it really like, hey, I'm just interested in sales and I see a gap here?
Um, I think for me, I was trying to take a fresh look at fitness,
Mhm.
and I didn't have an end goal when I started. I just knew that for as much as I was like, I think a lot of it is about, quality of life and all that, but I wouldn't have been happy making what I was making 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And maybe I could have bumped that up like 10% per year, whatever, raise rates, do all this stuff. But for me, it was more of like, how can I increase the amount of money, my earning potential, and also help more people? And it really honestly just developed into this sweet spot of retention. I wasn't looking at it as like, oh, I'm going to have a product or a technology or something that's going to completely change the world. I'm looking to help people that help a lot of people. And that's kind of what it's come into, is just, it developed out of me doing the research, I guess, is the way that I would look at it.
Awesome. And so
Yeah.
it's a ripple effect is what you're getting into more than
Yes.
the typical Silicon Valley. How can I automate, scale, and then exit? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I would want to exit my business because, um, you get to deal with people, and when you're dealing with people that are hungry and want to change, I think it really fires you up. Like when I talk to you, you know, I'm fired up afterwards, and I don't know if that's going to get old. Um, so I'm not really looking to exit or do anything like that. I'm just looking to make some money and help some people.
awesome. It's a good combo, man. And they should
Yeah.
go hand in
Thanks.
hand, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh, Nothing wrong with that. So let's talk about a little bit about retention for the people that are listening to this. What would you say are some of the key factors or missing elements that you're seeing when you go into a business and you're talking to, when you initially had the first conversation, right? Because a lot of people listening to this, I know based on talking to people, retention doesn't really come to the frame of mind, right? It's something they all know they should do, but it's all about leads and
Yeah.
sales.
It's
How
not sexy at all.
it's,
Um,
it is when I had talked to you though about it, and so I'll disagree with you on that sense. It's
that's
just
because
not
I'm sexy.
yeah, it is because you're
Just
sexy.
kidding.
Exactly. Lucky to have video chat with you when I get to see you, and get a tour of your apartment. So, so often as we chat, carrying around your laptop. But when, I think it's sexy in the sense that this is something as a business owner that if you focus on can allow you to leverage so many other aspects of your business and not have to invest so much time, stress, and worry trying to acquire new customers and new leads.
Yeah.
If you service and take care of your customers and put a retention practice in place, it gives
Hmm.
you so much more ability to leverage what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think the big shift that or maybe one of the missing key elements that I see when I talk to people who own businesses and who are operating gyms is that a lot of times they might be reactive to a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Members are saying this. We're seeing people leave because of this. And I think that those elements all can be addressed earlier in the customer life cycle, what I like to think of as like a customer arc. It's like a rainbow or a, whatever, a roller coaster. When you are headed on the like negative side of an interaction with a brand or with a gym or whatever it is, there's a very low likelihood that you're going to get saved.
Yeah.
If you're going to leave a gym, you're probably going to leave that gym. You and I have both left gyms before. And it's oftentimes because of a negative experience, either with like equipment, cleanliness, or staff, or, not really knowing how to use the services or products. But I think most fitness professionals don't experience that side of things. But if you front load relationships in any business, if you front load the relationship with care, it's just naturally going to extend itself longer than if you make the sale, stop caring, and then hope that they remain a customer for a long time. And like an easy example is when you order something on Amazon, you don't just get an email that says, hey, your item is on its way. It says, thanks for your order. And then the next day, your order has shipped. And then the next day, your order is on its way. And then your order will be here at this time. So they're providing this really intense front loading of a relationship that gets me excited about the purchase that I just made. And I think that a lot of lessons about front loading relationships can be taken from technology and other successful companies who rely on retention a lot, and applied to fitness or gyms or whatever the fitness business is, and other businesses, of course.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, I know your fitness is your focus right now.
Yeah.
But could you see yourself branching out to other industries?
For sure. Yeah. And I think when I need to nail this first, before I kind of step out into anything else, but fitness is the business that I know better than any other business besides maybe basketball, but I'm not quite there yet. But yeah, I mean, it can be applied. Any HR professional can probably attest to the fact that keeping your employees is really important, and keeping them happy is even more important. And a lot of lessons about retention from an employee perspective can be applied to fitness companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, we talked a little bit offline. I was interested in talking to you more, but you're working on something interesting right now called Attention. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, my fiance is super creative. And I just started doing Instagram stuff like, I don't know, 3 months ago. It's not my cup of tea. And so we were kind of workshopping hashtags, and we came up with attention on retention. And so what I'm doing is I'm making kind of like a self audit for gyms to actually do on themselves. That includes things like customer journey mapping and getting an understanding of your numbers and teaching you how to nurture relationships with your clients, like all stuff that companies may be doing one element of, but not these 10 elements. And basically it's hashtag attention. There's 10 phases in that, and each one of those letters leads you to one of the phases. So, hashtag is a pound sign, know your numbers. A is acclimate new members. T is track usage and behavior. So there's a bunch of steps to it, and we don't need to go too into it, but I think it's a good exercise for businesses to go through, and it's well worth the price tag.
Cool, man. Awesome. And instead of just going down that road, but I know that's also a lot of people in here going, look, I have an area of expertise, and there's something I'm a specialist in. We all have areas of expertise. And I was just actually talking to someone today, and they're like, man, this person was actually been a sales professional for 15 years. They train at the highest level in the Mercedes-Benz organization. They're like, I feel bad. This stuff's so easy. I feel bad charging for it. Or this, this is, I know you're already laughing because you're already, but for somebody like that, that's looking at this or thinking about bringing a product to market, what advice would you give them?
Well, could you elaborate on what do you mean you feel bad charging for?
So this is actually a conversation I had with this person, very bright, but they said, Doug, they just went out on their own to start their own
Yep.
business, and
Yep.
it's a sales and leadership company. And they said, geez, I'm working on my products, my product launch grid, which is something I've talked to you about.
Yep.
And they're like, I just feel, I kind of feel guilty about charging for, consulting services because this stuff's just so easy. And I won't tell you my response because I'm going to ask you for yours.
Well, I can probably assume what your response would be, but look, like certain things come easily to certain people, and if you can scale your abilities and teach other people how to do that, I think that other people are often hungry for expertise and knowledge and willing to pay for it. So I think of like an example. I learned how to play chess earlier this year, and I don't pay this person in dollars. I pay them in workouts. I pay someone to help me get better in chess with my time or my expertise. It's a different way of charging, but if you're in the top 1 or 2% at something, whether or not it's easy for you, you should be able to monetize that and feel fine doing it. And that's my opinion. Now, charging an insane amount, an amount that doesn't justify the value that you bring, that's something you might feel bad about. But just charging for something that you're good at, I think is isn't that kind of like the idea of a free market? Isn't that how all of us, like the people at Subway are better at making sandwiches than I am? They charge.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the way I think about it. It's like, you're good at it, you should make money doing it.
Cool. And then, what would you say to somebody that the same person comes to mind, but I would guarantee there's probably a couple hundred people listening to this or watching this, depending, and going, man, I've always wanted to make my own product or go out on my own. What advice would you give them?
I think it's a big time mix of what you're good at and what really fills your cup. You got to feel good about what you do. And if you're good at doing something that you enjoy doing, that's a pretty perfect mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, testing things and not being afraid to look like an idiot is pretty that's a pretty good quality to have, and it's something that's hard to develop. I think when you're looking at making a product, you don't know what's going to work, so you got to throw a lot of turds against the wall for something to stick. Like my first 5 ideas that I had were terrible, just terrible. But bad ideas lead to good ideas, and a simple exercise that I do occasionally when I'm feeling like I don't really know what's going on is I just write 10 things down. It can be 10 ways to make like a fantasy football draft better, or 10 ways to 10 ways to sell a house. Just writing ideas down, and obviously you want to cater it to your specialty, but writing ideas down and just coming up with ideas is so much better than sitting there and trying to think of the perfect one. You're not going to come up with the perfect one if you don't have a bunch of bad ones before.
No, absolutely. It reminds me of a conversation I saw. I saw the conversation because it was online, but it's a famous talking head, and I won't say the person's name, not because it's private, but anyway, they were saying, people were commenting like, wow, how is it that every time you release a product that it's always so successful? And the person responded with, I release 20 products a month on average. You only see one because the other 19 suck.
Yeah.
And I lose a lot of money on those, but I'm testing them as I release them with my team. He has a large team, and I know him, great guy. But he was just very honest about it. Like, kind of like the idea of like, look, you only see the successful ones because I keep investing money in promoting those. The ones you don't see are the incredible, huge failures that I have. And
so let me ask you, what's an idea that you look back at and you're like, man, that was laughably bad?
Oh man, I've had so many, it's ridiculous.
I love hearing people's worst ideas. It's super funny.
Oh, I've had gosh, man, I've had so many that it's even hard to come up with what idea would be a bad one at this point. Now that I'm thinking about them, one idea I had was a done-for-you bachelor party service where we ship you. This is a long time ago, but I thought it was pure genius. And with my friend, yes, at the time we were always invited for some reason, even people we didn't really know, we were always invited to their bachelor parties, and we had a lot of fun with it. And so we started bringing all the best things to each bachelor party we went to, the ball and chain, the whole idea. So we thought, what ended up happening is we talked to other guys and we're like, okay, these guys just don't know what to do, right? They're throwing a bachelor party. They don't know what to do for the bachelor. We'll have a done for you service. And at this time, right, we're such good, fun guys to be out with. They can pay for us to go too. Such a horrible idea. Luckily, we never went further than a couple beers and some, a basic business plan. But there's been so many, it's been ridiculous. And, and I have a lot of launches that are complete failures. Yeah. I think they're going to be amazing. I'm like, okay, this one's going to generate at least $1 million out of the gate. It's going to be a game changer. It's going to be awesome. And it's crickets. And you're like, what? This is an amazing idea. How come nobody else likes it?
It's funny when you mention that. One of my best friends, also coincidentally one of my smartest friends, one day a year, he and his cousin call in sick from work, and they try to come up with as many company ideas as they can. And from that, when he was a college freshman, he had a 6-figure business reselling protein and supplements to his student bookstore from getting a wholesale license. And it's like, there's so many good ideas out there that just aren't capitalized on because people are trying to come up with the best idea. You don't have to have the best idea to make money off it.
Nope. The most, when you look at just from a business financial perspective, out of the people that I privately coach, my privately coaching is a 6-figure charge. So they're making a lot of money. There's just no doubt about it, no way around that. But when I look at their business models, none of them are sexy businesses. You're looking at, everything from paper plates to, things that you wouldn't normally think about people selling or doing to make money. But they're very, very successful. I think what a lot of people do is they're on Instagram and they see, that person that they think is wealthy. They think they're happy. They think they're successful. And they try to go that route, not knowing what's really behind closed doors.
Yeah. I mean, like I role play with people all the time, and it's like, that is the least sexy thing you can do. But training like that sticks with people for a lifetime, and that one-time investment that someone will pay me, that if they're in that company for 10 years, that's a 10-year investment. And it pays for itself 100 times over. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be sexy to be good. Just ask Seal.
Yeah. No, a business doesn't have to be at all. And what I always tell people, or what I kind of preach, so to speak, is, what works best for you, what lights you up, what makes you passionate. Now, if it's about money, that's fine. But if it's about the lifestyle, if it's about what you're doing, which is what I call the ripple effect, where you're actually helping those people that serve more, right? We have an obesity epidemic, not only in the United States, but the world. And you're at the front lines of helping these people stay within programs, right? But also helping the people that help them provide a livelihood for themselves and their families, right? Yeah. That fills you up, that fills your cup, so to speak. Yeah. And you should be making money on that. I think those are things should be aligned. Unfortunately, I think there's two camps here, right? We see typically pushed online. One is the hustle and grind it out. I'll work 23 hours. No, I'll work 26 hours, a day type thing and mentality. And that's just a surefire way to die, and live a miserable life. You're not going to have any relationships, that's for sure. Your health isn't going to be there, as you and I both know. And then the other camp is kind of this idea of, okay, well, I want to do what I love, but making money's bad, right? And
I was like that for a long time, honestly.
Yeah.
Your relationship with money is really like I grew up with money kind of not tearing my family apart. I don't want to make it sound more dramatic, but like money was the main point of tension. And so I had this negative relationship with money. Like, what's going to happen to my family when I make, 250K or whatever? And it's silly.
Yeah, it is silly. Obviously, I think it's the most common thing when you talk to people in general. When I could do it from a coaching standpoint, when they open up to you, but even business owners, it's why a lot of business owners only hit the same mark every year, no matter what they do. They hit a ceiling. I call it a ceiling, but they hit that, and their thermostat, from what I describe it as, your thermostat's always set to 70, and then it kicks in. That's as hard as you can go, and you self-sabotage. Right? Some people turn to drugs and alcohol. Some people just crash their relationships. Some people crash their business, but that's as far as they end up going. And so once you change that money mindset, which a lot of people have, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have, that's when you're able to skyrocket. That's one way,
Yeah. Well, when did you change that?
I did a lot of work, and I'm still doing it, right?
Yeah.
And I just keep working on elevating. I've had coaches and mentors since my early 20s. I still do.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly working on different areas of my life, trying to be proactive about it. Going, okay. So for example, my wife and I would say our relationship is, awesome, but we might be proactive and say, hey, we'll hire someone before it's an issue rather than after. And so being proactive on that's just one example. Or when it comes to business mindset, right? Money mindset's great. I actually we're talking off this, but I'm going to give a lecture and a bunch of seminars, and that's one of the topics I'll be talking about. However, I will hire someone to see if there's any blind spots that I don't have.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. I think an exercise that you stressed and that I've done before is like, how would you put yourself out of business? And I think that for me in my work, very few gyms are actually looking at that. Like, not a lot of gyms are secret shopping their own gym, or, really staying on top of competitive research and doing exercises like this every quarter that they should be doing. And that I think most people you kind of got to have like a sense of paranoia.
Yeah. It's just it's not the sense of paranoia, but if you go into that mindset, it allows you to innovate, right? Yeah. It's just looking at it from a different angle. So when I think about how I can put myself out of business, or when you're consulting with your clients, you're now able to see the gaps in the business much clearer, because business owners typically know those gaps. They don't look at them. It's like, don't look at this, which I moved right before we started talking. Like, don't look at this thing in the corner. There's a whole pile of stuff because I'm traveling. Yeah. Just look over here, right? I know it's there. We all know it's there, but don't look. And so when
my sales team is great.
Yeah.
But my customer service team is not. And yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and we do in all areas of our life, right? Our health and wellness. What your gap. If I said, what's the most likely chance of you as a health professional, of you getting a dis-ease, right? You know what that is. My guess is you would, if I were to say what, you might say nothing, but there is this one thing that I do all the time that, I could see that possibly being an issue. Yeah. But it allows you, it's a bad analogy, but you get where I'm going with this. What that is within all your areas of your life. We tend not to look at it.
It's fun. It's nice not to look at it. It's easy to.
It's easier to bury your head in the sand like the ostrich, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a life worth living. And I'd rather peel back that onion a little bit and go in open-minded and go, okay, cool. That's something that can be changed. Doesn't need to be changed, but can be if I want to.
Yeah. Well, you referenced a lot of people earlier who your audience may be like kind of looking to make a change, or kind of take their business to the next level. What roadblocks do you see people putting up for themselves most frequently?
Fear
of
whatever, fill in the blank. It's a fear mostly of what other people think of them. What are they going to say? If I post on social media a video on retention every day, which I know you do a great job of, but what are people going to say about me?
Yeah.
And I went from, I was, I'll make this up because I know it's not you, but I was a trainer and now all of a sudden I'm a business guy,
Yeah.
right? Or that
Well, that
transitional
is me.
fade. What? Yeah.
That is me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's common, man. It's all of us have some version of imposter syndrome that creeps up,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? And when you talk to them, you get down to the real fear of what it is, or I'm going to start this someday. And that someday usually is caused by a fear of something. What is that fear? It could be a fear of usually it's a fear of what are people going to think of me? What if I fail? And what if I fail really isn't failure. It's what are people going to think of me when I fail or if I
Yeah.
fail? And
Yeah,
it
I understand that.
goes through those stages.
I mean, that's super relatable. Everybody feels those things, whether or not they want to admit it.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I think it takes more courage. I wrote something about this a while ago, and I wrote it like literally probably 2 minutes, and I got so many responses, email and social media wise. But I think true courage, and this happened to relate to what it is to be a strong masculine man. I was like, true courage is stepping up and saying, I need help, or stepping up and saying, like, I'm not perfect and I'm willing to fix these issues that I'm really just hiding in the corner over here. Right. Because we all have family members. That's the easiest one to look at, or good friends who talk a good game, but you see right through it. Right. People can see right through your crap too.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like, take off the mask, the representative that we all put on. Like when you've met your fiance, you go Alex, on steroids, right? You were like, chairs out, the whole much,
Yeah.
perhaps maybe more attentive than you could be right now. Now, maybe not, but maybe so. And so, go ahead.
All I'll say is I definitely fart in the house now.
Well, there you go. Right. So, so you had
Something my friends know about me.
she met your representative who didn't fart.
Yeah.
But we all do this at a bigger level. So to answer your question, you have business owners, and now I'm talking about business owners that I know who take home is going to be, in the eight figure range. They have these exact same problems. In fact, 60 Minutes, I don't know when this will run out, but had Paul McCartney on. And one of the things he was talking about is his insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they were like, you have insecurities. I can't remember who the interviewer is. You're Sir Paul McCartney. And he's like, yeah, I'm human. Like, there's things I worry about, things I'm scared. Like, it's the human condition. And for some reason, we don't think anybody else have these. And so we don't try to move forward.
I think that's becoming, it's becoming a lot more commonplace to be upfront about those things.
I hope so. I really do. Yeah. Suicide rate for men 35 to 55, I believe. And I could be off on my stats on the ages, but that's the number one killer of men in the UK right now. But there's not a lot. It's not really talked about, and that's one of the issues. It's men's coaching is something that I'm very passionate about. Just being an athlete my whole life, and coming from more of that. I get guys. That's how I know. I have 3 brothers, a stepbrother. I get that whole realm. So anyway, we're going on a tangent, but it's that fear that's never talked about that's so interesting. But what I want to do, coming back, Alex, and bringing this full circle and coming back to business and retention and what you're up to, and kind of your story and your journey as it would be. Where are you going to be with, not only retention in the business, but where do you see yourself in the next year going?
Well, That's funny. I think about, obviously, I try to think about that often, not lose sight of short-term goals. I think for me, I would like, right now I'm still training part-time, and I'm working with a couple clients right now outside of the gym in the afternoon, or afternoons and weekends. I would like to make the shift from needing some of that training income to not needing it, and being able to work exclusively with gyms, business owners, managers, etc. I don't know, September 1st next year, I would really like that shift to be complete. And I would really like to have a buttoned up presence online. That's something that I'm not super passionate about, but I know it's really important for the image of the business and, lead generation, all that stuff. And then I would also like the people that I work with to be stoked that they worked with me, because ultimately that's probably my measure of if I did a good job, is if I left people off better than I found them and I left their businesses off better than I came into it. So those would probably be the three things.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And of course you'll be married.
No, September 21st next year. So I purposely did that a couple of weeks earlier, so that I focus on that after.
Good man. Alex, for those people that want to find out more about you, what you're up to, reach out with questions, what's the best way for them to do so?
I do a lot of my stuff, as you know, on LinkedIn, and it's just Alex Armstrong. And I think a lot of people here will probably be connected to you or know of you, and we'll see a second degree connection there. But I'm also building, as I said, a self-audit tool for gyms to go through with themselves and their team. And that will be available at my website, which is agymgym.otion.com. So agymotion.com. And then email, I'm totally fine giving out my email address. It's the quickest way to get to me. It's agarmstrong@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, whatever you want to talk about. Hopefully I can help you. If not, I can point you in the right direction.
Awesome. And so for Fit Pros, definitely if you own a facility, got to talk to Alex. In fact, I think almost anybody, business owner, should be talking to you, but we can talk about that off air. And then if you work out, go to a gym, make sure that their retention policy is good, because that's going to make your experience a lot better at your facility. Alex, thanks again for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
Yeah, you got it, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Attention all business owners. Do you know how your website stacks up online against your competition? Do you know the current health of your website? Your business is a huge part of your life, and we want to help you succeed as much as possible. Get a free online marketing health report by going to authorofyourownstory.com/business-gift. And don't forget to be the author of your own story.